Bruins Beat is brought to you by PrizePicks and the Game Time app.
And welcome into the Bruins Beat on CLNS Media, presented by PrizePicks. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $50 back when you play. Just $5, and are presented by Game Time. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $20 off that first purchase. Terms apply. I'm Evan Marinofsky. That's Conor Ryan. Connor, what's up?
Evan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
There was enthusiasm in that. I was like, a little,
yeah,
which
we're starting off up here, and then we're going to talk about the Bruins, and it's going to go all the way down.
Yeah. Well, you know, I want to start on a high note. I want to give a big congratulations to the Bruins, who are a playoff team right now. Congrats to them. 7-1 or 2. They're a playoff team. They are firmly in the third spot in the Atlantic. Play the Maple Leafs in the first round, shaping up just how we thought.
Just how they drew it up, Evan.
It is incredible to me, and we discuss this every postseason when the matchups are really good in the first round and then get worse as time goes on. And I apologize for the congestion. I was in a rink legitimately all Saturday and Sunday, so it's just like this happens. But we say this every playoffs. The formatting stinks. Like, it would be so much better if it was 1 versus 8. It's hilarious to me that as of Monday, the Rangers, who have 19 points, are sitting on the outside, whereas a team like the Bruins, who have 16, are sitting on the inside. But they are a playoff team. Like, Bruins are technically a playoff team right now. It doesn't feel like that really at all. So it's been I think the mood is dull, especially after Saturday's game. So the big return of Lena Solmark. They hug at center ice and warm-ups. I was hoping for a fight. I was hoping that things would get so heated in the game that the goalies would be forced to go at it. I thought maybe on the table. I don't know.
I mean, it would have been the most exciting thing we saw in that game, Evan. So,
well, yeah. So people, maybe you didn't see the game and you're wondering, hey, why was it not so exciting? It was a 3-2 overtime loss. Had to be something. That's because they entered the third period tied 2-2 and proceeded to put 0 shots on net, which we have consistently said, this is the new low. Nope, this is the new low. This, to me, feels like a new low. To have no shots in a third period where you're tied. I saw Andrew Raycroft tweet out that I think it was like over an hour between shots Lena Solmark faced.
Hour and 7 minutes, I want to say.
That, again, and as your colleague Kevin Paul DuPont posted, it hasn't been since 2006 that has been the case, which is A, incredible research, and B, I believe that was the Dave Lewis Bruins. So
yeah, it's not good when you get compared to that squad. So it's not all that great right now with the Bruins, Evan.
No, it's not. And you wrote a little bit about the third period as Jim Montgomery instructed you to do after the game. There was a very, very quick press conference, and he said, that's up for you guys to figure out and come up with a reason. We just weren't good enough. You guys can write what you guys think is the malaise on the team and what's going on. We're just not playing good enough. So this is on us. I actually take this very seriously. This is on us. We've got to break this down, Connor. He said, you know what? I can't come up with something right now. Reporters and writers, you guys watch us. You talk about us. You put your opinions out there. It's time for you guys to come up with a solution. So Connor, this could be our big break. Like,
yeah.
Are we going to be hired as the next, are we going to be co-coaches of the Bruins?
God, I hope not.
It goes so poorly. Anyways, you also mentioned sort of the third period have been lasting throughout the season. Worst third period goal differential in the NHL, -11. Also holding the second worst third period shot differential at -41. So what do you make of what happened Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, you say it represents a new low. And I also think you look at it like we're going to talk on this podcast, obviously, about Montgomery and the hot seat and all that stuff. And I think it's all warranted. You're still seeing this team be so stop and start in terms of their play. And anytime it seems like they have a few encouraging wins, they take a step back. And you're in this kind of malaise, as Jim Montgomery mentions it. You can talk about the special teams and the lack of adjustments there, which some of that is on coaching in terms of, you're the one mixing up the lines or not mixing up the lines, and things need to be, adjusted there. But like, I also think there needs to be, something where this roster needs to be taken to task, because you can talk about the chemistry and what's there, what isn't, the adjustments that the coaches can make. There's no strategy or anything like that warrants 0 shots on goal. That's effort, losing puck battles, and
Honest
sleeping
to
at
God,
the wheel.
honestly, you and I could step in and put up a third period game plan, and like it would never come to no shots like that. And I'm not saying that's on Montgomery. Like that is just horrible play by the players.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can drop whatever you want. Like hockey is still 20 minutes of controlled chaos in which a vulcanized little disc is flying all around the place. The onus is on the players out there who've played hockey their whole lives to win puck battles, retrieve it, and get 1 shot on goal against the opposing goalie. Like, so listen, I think, you look at what's ailing this team. There's a lot, and, Montgomery and the coaching staff are going to be the first ones to take the fall if that's going to, if seismic change is going to impact this team. But players themselves got to look at themselves in the mirror, and like, you can say whatever you want about the lack of cohesion or the strategy, all those things. It falls on the players themselves to make plays happen. And for 20 minutes, there wasn't shit to talk about with how that game went. Like, what are you going to do there? Like, Jim Montgomery said he had no answers, and like, you don't want to hear that from a coach, and it's not great. But like, what are you doing for those 20 minutes, man? Like, Jesus.
Well, that truly is the thing where I think he has got to a point where, obviously we don't know every single thing he's done behind the scenes. We are not in the room with him. But, my guess is he's tried everything. And he has tried everything. He's tried mixing up the lines and, sitting different guys and things like that. And if it just isn't working, if the messaging is just not getting through and you're not putting together strings of good games and at least just solid efforts. I mean, again, if you went out in the third and peppered Lena Solmark and lost, it's like, all right, well, you try, like you were there, you couldn't finish, whatever. Yep. I think he's kind of tried everything at this point. And, we are over a month into the year. And, we've been asking this question now for a few weeks of, is Jim Montgomery on the hot seat? And it's tough because I agree with you in that, like, it ain't his fault they didn't get a single shot on net in the third period. Like, it isn't. That's on the roster. And the easy move here for Don Sweeney, if this continues, because again, we are running out of time because we are getting close to Thanksgiving. That is kind of the good measuring stick for postseason, which again, they're in the playoffs right now. So,
right.
Lord knows. The easy move would be to fire Jim Montgomery. You have two guys on the bench who could step right in. Like, you'd be okay. I'm not saying coaches are, or dispensable or anything like that, but like, it probably would give you a little spark. But just because it's the easy move, does it make it the right move? Like, I think everyone just goes, oh, fire the coach, the team will be good. Like, they'll be on their way. And if the locker room's tuned him out, then that's one thing. Like, he says they haven't. Obviously, he's going to say that. He's not going to say they don't listen to me. Mm-hmm. So we won't really know. But, like, I just come back to, like, are the problems deeper than just the head coach at this point? It feels like they are.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, you can talk about however you want to drop the strategy, anything like that, but the onus still falls on the players to get pucks on net. Like, again, they're just need to simplify their game. They can't even get to that right now. They're either overthinking things, they're overpassing, they're not, making the simple, smart plays. They're not crisp with the puck. Like, again, it all comes down to, like, let's say for the power play, for example, right? Like, and you can say the Bruins need to change their strategy, change their approach. There's still a shit ton of talent on that power play unit. Like, naturally, in terms of just what they do best, you should be able to that personnel, regardless of how you drop the plays, whatever, should not be 30th in the league. Should not go through. Let's say for the first power play unit, a minute and 20 seconds. Shouldn't have a stretch there in a 5-on-4 where you have 0 pucks on net or even high danger chances. Like, they're not even generating looks. Or you're not making the goalie go like post to post on the power play. Like, that's not even happening right now.
Lena Solmark could have been eating the chicken fingers out of the Zamboni box.
He was pretty much chilling for those 20 minutes. So, again, like, we'll dive more into it, right? And like Montgomery and those guys and the coaching staff, like they take onus, right, of where they are right now. But it ain't just them. We know if they have to make changes, what it's going to be. You can't fire the whole team, but the players themselves have so much more to give in terms of not just like even, and we can look at the individual guys, right? The guys who have 1 5-on-5 goal, 2 or 3 total 5-on-5 points. Like so many guys need to step it up, but as a collective group, like to go 20 minutes without a shot on goal, without threatening, or pushing the pace or anything like that. I mean, it wasn't even like it was also the whole third period. I think the last shot on goal before overtime was Kastelik had one, and it was, I think, 13-13 in the second period. So, like, there was a whole stretch there where the Bruins weren't doing much of anything. So, again, like, who's going to take the fall? We know what happens if they have to make those moves. But the players themselves need to step it up here.
Well, that's the thing is, again, and it's funny because they had those 2 straight goals within 15 seconds of each other. It's like, all right, they're cooking. Like you build off that. And I think that's sort of a microcosm of their season so far of like, you'll have those 1 or 2 good games and then there's just nothing after. And like that Zacha goal to me on Saturday was sort of how you want to score those goals, where it's like you're passing it around, you get a passing lane open down low, you go high to low for it. And then Zacha on his backhand with his back to the net, typically you would expect them to pass that puck. They'd never shoot it. He just turns and fires it. And it's like, that's what you need. That's what you want. And they clearly don't do it enough. I do want to dive more into this Montgomery stuff because, we're back at this. We're back at it, Connor. It's like you at the Garden. We're back at it just 2 weeks later, back at the drawing board. But first, quick words from our friends over at PrizePicks.
The leaves have fallen and the temperature is dropping, but you know what that means. Hockey season is finally here. And there's so many ways for you to get in on the action and win up to 100 times your cash with as little as 4 correct picks on PrizePicks, as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level on the ice, gridiron, court, and much more. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this hockey season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. PrizePicks now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. There's really no shortage of ways to participate in PrizePicks, especially during hockey season. This week, I'm picking David Pastrnak for more than 0.5 goals and Nikita Kucherov for more than 1 assist. It's really that easy. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS on the PrizePicks app to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game.
So we were gonna do this on Jim Montgomery, and we'll still get into that. But we always hope that breaking news happens while we record. And a little piece of news came out that already. So we're recording this. It's 2:22 p.m. Bruins tweeted this news at 2:16. It has 10 retweets and 89 quote tweets, which is very impressive. All replies. The graphic is huge.
They say psych RN. Is that what the
psych right now?
Yes.
The news is Matt Potra got assigned to Providence, which, again, had a really strong training camp, came out. And, the reality is he's 4 points in 14 games. He was sort of the odd man out at practice on Monday. But he is still very young. There are developmental advantages to going down, whether it be playing in more situations. I don't think it's any secret that he's been getting knocked around here a lot. Feels like every game he's taking a huge hit. And I don't think they feel the production's probably where it needs to be. They haven't spoken on it yet, so we don't really know. But what's sort of your initial reaction to this?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's necessarily like completely surprising. I could see why I think Bruins fans are probably not happy because one, he probably was the most consistent player during camp. And also you look at where this team has struggled. And there's been a lot of issues. We can look at the power play. We can look at third periods. Just 5-on-5 scoring has not been there. And he's been a guy that has shown that he has that playmaking poise. That being said, I think he's a guy that it's kind of what our argument was going into camp, right? Where it also doesn't hurt where if you're putting him down there and he's given time to play 18 to 20 minutes a night on the top power play, on the top line, top power play unit, get rolling a little bit here and feeling confident about his game, maybe that helps him and, gets him back up here as a more poised and confident player. Yeah, maybe it's just a couple of weeks, get his game going. I think you can see there's still learning curves in his game, right? In terms of it feels like he gets rocked every single game of like not putting his head up. But I think beyond that, things that probably the Bruins look at as to, where he has more room to grow. It's just what all players, especially at his age, have to work on, which is adding a little bit more muscle. He does get out muscled along the boards quite a bit. Very crafty, like poised player. We all know that, but you can see where, and it's the same thing you see with every player. Like same with like David Pastrnak, who's not a power forward, right? But his first few years was getting knocked off the puck very regularly, and he adds on muscle, fills out his form, and he's more attuned and equipped to kind of handle that physicality at the next level. Potra needs to work on that a little bit, so not surprising there. But I wouldn't call it a gamble, but I think you can see both sides of it, right? Like the Bruins, I think, see him as someone that needs to develop a little bit more and should benefit from more reps down in Providence. But this is also a team that it's not like you've got, Geeky rolling and Frederick rolling and all these guys. You can be like, all right, we're good. Like we have the luxury of putting Potra down in Providence for 20 minutes where maybe he would best benefit when already your 5-on-5 play isn't all that great. So you can make either argument as to what this team needs right now, but clearly right now I think the Bruins think that Potra needs a little bit more of a reset and probably more minutes down in Providence.
I'm fine with this for his own development. Like for his own game at his age, like that's completely fine. He's never spent any time down there. Be a great opportunity, as you said, play 20 minutes a night, be the top line center, like really expand your game, gain some muscle, all that. I don't understand it from the team's perspective because again, like he's crafty and he's skilled and he's so smart and he's got such good vision and he protects pucks well. I mean, he gets knocked off them a lot, but he can protect him too. And I just like Geeky is not going right now. So Geeky was on the top line on Monday at practice. Trent Frederick has, I think, 7 straight games without a point.
Yeah.
Your secondary guys aren't giving you anything. And I think that's also why Potra's production has dipped. I mean, again, like playing with guys like Coyle and Frederick and whomever, like those guys aren't producing either. So neither is Potra. It's not like Potra's getting even like secondary assists on anything because nobody's producing. So but I don't understand that end of it where it's like, this team could use him. This team needs him offensively. And again, if he comes back in a month or two, I mean, I don't know how much bigger he's going to be. It's mid-season.
just yoked.
He's jacked. He's completely jacked. Like he's Popeye.
He's just been carbo loading over at Federal Hill in Providence, just eating pasta every day.
Yes, just eating insane amounts of food. I don't know how that happens now. I don't. You want to make the case for all situations, go for it. But again, like that's what the offseason's for, getting bigger and stronger and all those things. So I'm very curious to hear sort of what the rationale is from the team, why they did it, what they think of it. Because again, like, are they, who's coming up? What's their next move? Is Montgomery going all veterans to maybe potentially save his job? Like, I think that's the other part of it too. Like you got Tyler Johnson now. Do they feel that he's a better fit, more stable? Like, I don't know. Like, is Lysell coming up? No, I don't think he's coming up, but yeah. I wonder what the plan is here. Is it short term, long term?
I think you can see both sides of it, right? And I think, as you said,
exactly.
like you can easily see both sides, but I think when you look at the situation the Bruins are in, that's where it's like, all right, like, yeah, he definitely could use more seasoning Providence, but they could kind of use him right now as just a guy that is making plays. I haven't looked up his numbers recently, but I know like natural stat trick, and again, that's not the be all end all, but he's got, I think, one of the better Corsi percentages too, in terms of like the ice is kind of tilted in Boston's favor when he's out there. Like he's making plays happen. It's not leading to points necessarily, but he is like, it's not like he's a guy that I think has been a net negative, but clearly the Bruins think that he has more to give or he's better suited for more minutes with Providence right now. And see how it plays out. If all of a sudden they go and play a Blues team that's not all that great and they still can't score, and guys like Geeky and Tyler Johnson and Frederick and all these players aren't pulling on the rope, then it looks bad in hindsight. But they clearly think he needs just more reps down in Providence right now. And who knows? As you said, maybe he comes back in a few weeks. He puts up, 12 points in 8 games or something like that, and is feeling good about his game. You bring him up, and he hits the ground or the ice running, right? Like that's probably what they're hoping for. But for right now, it still is kind of a gamble, and the 5-on-5 offense has just been so out of sorts.
He comes back. He's looking like the dad of the Costco guys, like Big AJ, just like bringing the boom.
Dude,
like,
the Bruins should for a year move like their AHL team down to like New Orleans, so it's just all just like heavy. It's like the Zion Williamson diet. Like all the guys eat gumbo and jambalaya the entire. They just do that just to bulk up, but that probably wouldn't work because it wouldn't be like bulked up. They'd just be like they'd all just be fat. Like it'd be the opposite of what you need.
Huge human beings.
Yes.
But yeah, this is interesting. We can continue diving into this Montgomery stuff. But first, quick word from our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like watching an NBA or NHL game live. The energy in the building, the sounds on the ice or the court, the memories you make with family, friends, and other fans. It's unmatched. And the coolest part is when strangers sitting around you become your best friends. You can make these memories with Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. When I use Game Time, I also love the flash deals, which help me get discounted prices on really good seats. Plus, who doesn't love seat views, which give a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy? So, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Now, back to the show. So I think Potra getting sent down speaks to sort of a bigger problem with the Bruins, and we mentioned it before the Game Time read, is that the secondary scorers aren't scoring. Guys just are playing like crap. And it's rubbed off on a guy like Potra, who the underlying numbers support and has been good, but also really hasn't produced much of a whole lot. And it kind of goes to a bigger thing. Like, is this a Montgomery thing? Has Jim Montgomery lost the room? Are these guys not buying in? But again, like I go back to, we talked about that third period on Saturday. Like, I don't care who the coach is. That team's getting a shot on net. Like, that's a team that's just out to lunch. And so again, to me, this team needs more of a spark. This team needs a bigger spark than just we're firing the head coach. We're trading the head coach. Jim Montgomery, get ready to learn Winnipeg, buddy.
Yes.
Winnipeg's doing great.
They're doing
ass. Respectfully, he would love that. But I think they need a bigger spark. And to me, it comes down to making a trade. It's unconventional. It's not something they've typically done. You don't see it a lot. But I go back to sort of the idea of trading a guy like Trent Frederick. Or, I know Geeky, I don't know what value he has right now. Like, I think Trent Frederick has some value. You can get something for it. And I also think it's sort of a little bit of a punishment to the room of like, you guys want to keep playing here. You guys love Boston so much. You love this group. Well, goodbye. Like, one's gone. We're putting in someone, we're trading Trent Frederick as sort of a, smack in the ass. And so to me, I think that makes more sense. Harder to do. Probably a lot of blowback from that. But, just firing the head coach. And I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was...
Maybe you do both.
Right. I mean, I think it was Ty Anderson mentioned this a few weeks ago. I think it was like the 09-10 season, or maybe it was the 08-09 season where they started off pretty slow, and Shirley just traded Chuck Kobasu. It was just like, all right, then send the message across. Like, and again, like, wasn't an integral part of the team, right? But still was a guy that's been there for a couple of years, solid guy. And you move him as kind of a shot across the bow.
I forgot about Chuck Kobasu. What a name.
So, but that was, I think, one of those really like a trait early on in the year where it's kind of like, hey, you guys got to get your shit in order, right? And again, that could be something that if it's a Geeky or a Frederick or someone like that, it sends a message, right? This is a team that has been anchored by, veteran leadership and the culture in the room and the chemistry and the camaraderie and all those things. Well, if you're playing like this, you're not going to have a solid room if you're going to have your GM moving players. I'm not saying also you trade a guy just for the sake of doing it. Like, again, if it's a guy like Geeky, value isn't all that great right now, but like Frederick, you could probably get something for him. Like, I know when it was mentioned last week when Kevin Weeks dropped that kind of rumor on social media about him, like, it's like, could you get Tanner Jeannot kind of return for a guy like that when he's a kind of a similar skill set? Got a shit ton of picks for a guy like Jeannot in that situation. So you probably could get something. I don't think the Bruins want to move a guy like Frederick, but if it's like the shakeup you need, maybe that is a situation the Bruins do address. I still feel like they look at the coach first. That's usually how it works when these things happen. But again, like you can't fire the whole team, right? But if things continue to stagnate, and as you again, like I look at that game on Saturday, and yes, like it feels like rock bottom for quite a few guys, and Montgomery doesn't have the answers, and it's not great. But I'm more looking at like the players after a game like that. Like, is that it? Is that what you're showcasing here? When like you're just trying to find traction and you don't, you put it on cruise control for 20 minutes. Like, that's where I think, the players themselves need to step up in this situation. Maybe it does require a roster tweak or two. Like, you hope that moving Potra wasn't the wake up call there, because I still feel like he's a guy that helps your team. But maybe that is the next kind of avenue Don Sweeney and his staff have to take in terms of waking this team up, because it's way too much stop and start. Like, how many times have they had a good win, a good stretch here or there? You're like, all right, getting back on track, feeling good at where they are. Not perfect, not a 60-minute effort, but win's a win, trending in the right direction. And then you have that game against Ottawa, and it's like, all right, back to the drawing board, I guess. Like, something needs to change.
Well, that's the thing. And that's why, like, I think people, I at least have not yet said like they should fire Montgomery or they shouldn't. We've sort of just kind of talked about it. And I think one of the reasons that I'm having such a tough time, getting to that point of being like, yep, they need to fire him, is because so much of this is player driven and so much of it is the player's fault. And I know that when that's the case, it's the coach that usually goes, I understand that the logical move here and what some might assume is the next move is to just fire Jim Montgomery. But I think the problem does run deeper than that. I mean, again, when you're getting no shots in the third period, you're getting blown out by Carolina. You have no 5-on-5 scoring. Your power play stinks. Coach could come in and change a few things stylistically, and we've talked about those things. I mean, shooting the puck more. Montgomery did move Hampus Lindholm to the top power play unit on Monday at practice. Maybe that is another kind of gasp at trying something like, but a lot of it's just, lack of effort, not winning board battles, like not getting to loose pucks, stupid penalties, like offensive zone penalties. And that's why I think this team needs to sort of be threatened with like, hey, we're going to kick you off the island. Like, I think that it's absolutely a fair thing to do. And, I think maybe you see both. And then there's also the element of, and I don't see, because I was thinking about this as we were talking about this, being like, they are still in the playoffs. They haven't been this average in a long time. Maybe we're just overreacting, but I don't think we are, because no shots in the third period is dreadful. Up and down play, just as all the things I just mentioned are not, overreacting. That stuff stinks. Like, that is bad hockey. By the way, I did look up that Chuck Kobasu trade. This is from a Bleacher Report article on October 19th, 2009. I was in fifth grade. I think I was in
Jesus
5th grade.
Christ.
So the Bruins and Minnesota Wild pulled off a trade. Craig Weller, a second-round pick, and the rights to prospect Alexander Falstrom to the Bruins for Kobasu. I wonder what that second-round pick ended up being. 9th pick the Bruins hold in the first. Yeah, the second-round pick. Second round draft pick represents the 9th pick the Bruins hold in the first or second rounds of the 2010 and the 2011 draft. Those were the days. Those were the days. And then they mentioned with all those, this writer, I don't know who it is. His name is Anthony Emerson.
Wrote with all those, Conor Ryan.
His name is Conor Ryan. Oh, it's Ty Anderson. With all those draft picks in the Bruins' possession, the Bruins might try and pull off a bigger move. One name I've heard is Ilya Kovalchuk. Kovalchuk is among the best players in the NHL. So he was at the Thrashers. Bruins could send no more than 4 of their first picks. So he mentioned Marco Sturm, which actually ended up happening. Sturm got traded, I think, the beginning of the next year. So, yeah. No Kovalchuk. That didn't end up happening. Kovalchuk to the Bruins.
Yes.
Never came to fruition. I'm not there yet with firing Montgomery. I'm not quite there yet. I see it. I understand it. I would not be shocked if it happens. I'm like, every time I check my phone and I see I have a Bruins tweet notification, I'm waiting for that to be the thing. And it's the easy move. I just don't know if it's the right move.
Right.
And you might, again, like if they fired him, you might see them, win 4 of their next 5. But again, I wonder, what are they after that little burst? What are they after? If they're great, then like, all right, perfect. Like that was the right move. Good job, Don Sweeney. Boom. But I don't know. I'm not fully confident that is the answer yet. So yeah. Lots of fun stuff. We could. I mean, I was going to get into some Linus Ullmark stuff real quick. I guess we'll do it here. Obviously, Ullmark back in Boston. I think you and Ty covered this pretty good last week on Poke the Bear, so I don't want to rehash all that. But one thought I had was like, with their average start, is there a case to be made that they just should never have even traded Linus Ullmark? Of that you have the 2 goalie tandem again? And my answer to that is no. You did the right thing. You traded him. You did the right thing. If they had ever kept him, there would have been a revolt. And we know what that would have looked like. So I'm not like that. I assume you're in the same camp I am on that.
Yeah. And I mean, also, Don Sweeney mentioned it, like both guys wanted to play 50 plus games next year. Like even Linus Ullmark and something Ty mentioned that was kind of lost in the shuffle last year is during the playoffs when it was clear that Jeremy Swayman was going to get all the starts the rest of the way. Ullmark's like, yeah, there's some days that are better than others in terms of his approach. Like, dude, as much as, listen, they're best buds. They got the hug. They're both also hyper-competitive professional athletes. You take a lot of pride in their respective games. Ullmark's a guy that has a Vezina on his resume, right? Like,
the year before.
Yes.
The year before.
This is still a guy that wants the net, like, and it's a great partnership, but something had to give this year. And again, like I think the Bruins, you look at setting up, Swayman to be your franchise goalie, freeing up the money to, sign him to an extension, freeing up money to address other needs in the offseason, all that played into it. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't feasible having both those guys in there. So I couldn't see any situation in which you roll back those 2 guys. And even if you have both guys in net this year, that's great. And you're probably not 7-7-2, but are you, Are you 14? Are you the Winnipeg Jets 14-1 and whatever they are, right? Like, I don't think that's the case because you're still not scoring goals. So I think that also plays into it.
Well, Linus Ullmark, goal scorer.
True.
Maybe that helps out. Him. I don't know. Maybe it gives you something. Yeah, it's a weird time. And again, like just to roll over, Bruins are in St. Louis Tuesday night. Then they move on to play at Dallas. That's not an easy game. And then they're home again against St. Louis on Saturday. Again, I wonder how those go. And I wonder if we're sitting here in a week or even at the end of the week with a very different landscape, whether it be they won a bunch of games or Jay Leach is the head coach. Like that's why it's an interesting time for us because we've never had this before. Cassidy was sort of out of the blue.
Yeah.
They've always been really good while we've done this. So it's usually like, November 11th, like, oh, Charlie Coyle has 10 points in his last 8 games. He's been great, hasn't he? Blah, blah, blah. It's been a roller coaster of emotion this year. I don't think fans love that too much.
You know how shocking it was when Cassidy got fired? I literally was at Sullivan's in Southie getting an ice cream cone when the news dropped. Like, I did not expect it at all.
The ice cream falls off the cone. You're like,
that's
what?
Pretty much what. And let me tell you, it was a pristine twist, but they had strawberry instead of the chocolate. It was beautiful, and it all went to shit. And immediately it just had to eat it quick, got a brain freeze, like couldn't walk in a straight line. I was rattled, Evan. That's how unprepared I was for the Cassidy news.
Yeah, I think I was also stunned by that too. I think I was just sitting I was at home and I saw it and I was like, oh shit. Because I was at a birthday party for someone. I think it was like a birthday party for Steve Hewitt, who's now with the Basketball Journal.
Yes.
And it was like a couple days before, and Bridget Proulx was there. Mm-hmm. And we were talking, and she was like, oh, they might fire Cassidy. I'm like, nah, they won't. Maybe it's next year. He starts the year on the hot seat, but like, they're not going to do it now. Freaking did it like a couple days later. So, yeah, this time I think people will not be very surprised if it happens. But hey, you know what? Jim Montgomery's still the head coach. It'll be interesting to see what he does over these next couple of games. Connor, what can the people look forward to from you over at the Globe and Boston.com?
Yeah, you can find me over at the Globe and Boston.com. Well, I've covered every step of the way this Bruins season, whether it's recaps, features, columns, breakdowns, all that good stuff. You can read it over there at those two sites, so please do that. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, X, whatever it's called, you can at Conor Ryan _93.
Go do all that. That's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. You Bruins Beat listeners. Have a great rest of your week.